I'm Ryan Milton from Team Flex, and today we're going to be looking at a bikini class NPC Worldwide Melbourne, looking internationally at what is unfolding for 2025 bikini and what that means ultimately for you as a competitor out there trying to do your best on stage. We'll go over criteria, things you need to know, and realistically just give you better insight into how you do your best prep, get your best physique on stage, and get the best results out of your season 2025. And that's what we're doing on this channel all the time. So if you're new here, subscribe, hang out. We got a lot more coming. Also, I do want to say, you're looking at it on the screen, 7-day free coaching trial. This is a totally awesome experience. I don't talk about it enough. I'm trying to talk about it more and more because so many people are getting so much out of it. But basically, this is an opportunity for you to train free with me for 7 days as your coach in my online platform, like all of my clients, bikini, wellness, figure, fit model, our athletes, our clients that use our platform, you get access to that. You can come in there, try that free for 7 days. It's so simple. Pull up your phone right now, type in teamfflex.com/7-day trial, put your info in, and you get to come enjoy that experience. So like if you're watching these to learn more, you're watching these to get criteria points, you're watching this to hopefully figure out for your physique what you need to do, just go into my app and I'll tell you everything. You can ask me any questions. I'll show you how to train. I'll tell you, points of your physique for improve, all this, everything that you would want. All free, no credit card info, no payment info, no obligation to sign up. It's really just a way for me to give back to the bodybuilding community, give back to all you who have allowed me to do this for a living, right? And so if you enjoy the YouTube and you like to watch this and you think you get things out of it, I'll give you 100 times more on that free trial. Check it out. Let's go. Okay, so as I said, NPC Worldwide Melbourne here, we are looking at bikini and, international competitions. I said this in the fit model video. By the way, if you're one of those on the fence about fit model or bikini, make sure you watch the fit model video from this event as well, because I am covering both kind of at the same exact time in a way where the feedback and the differences will become very apparent to you if you are having a hard time figuring that out. But looking at bikini, international, Melbourne, right? This generally, what I see with international events is they go a little bit bigger and a little bit leaner just in general. That's just the way it is for pretty much every division. I don't really know why, but it is the way that it happens. I've covered competitions in CPA. I cover a lot of NPC worldwide competitions and especially pro events that are worldwide. And you do generally see a little bit bigger and a little bit leaner of a look. So bikini here at this event, I would say does look a little bit like that. Still very much within criteria and all the points will make a lot of sense, but we definitely have a little bit of a bigger look overall going on. So here's our first place winner, Marlette. And we're looking at Class A, by the way, Class A bikini. Over here we have Ash, she takes second, and we have over here Joe, she takes third. So we're gonna look at these three and kind of go over this a bit. Right out the gate, what I can tell you is bikini is all about the hourglass shape. And if you watch the channel all the time, you know this. We talk about the shoulders, having that development and that width up top, that roundness, that fullness you need to have. Taper into the small, narrow waist effect here. The more that you can do that, the more dramatic taper, the better you're gonna do on stage. And lower body, you want to see the glutes and the hamstrings and the quads all create better symmetry proportion to create an hourglass look. And you'll see all three of these athletes are going to have that in their own unique way, which is pretty common again in this division. Okay, basically, from the perspective of muscle, whoever's going to attain the best hourglass is going to be the one that wins in bikini. Obviously, you got to have the right conditioning and everything else, but foundation of this division is built on that muscle and that shape. So our first place winner, Marlette, she's got, very on par with this division shoulder shape, which is fullness and roundness here. You don't want to be too big. You start to look like figure out. Don't want to be too underdone in the shoulders either, because you start to look like fit model, right? So you want to make sure you get that fullness, that roundness. That's a combination training front delts, a lateral delt, rear delt. Obviously, you got to know it specifically on your physique, what points you need to focus on to create that look, which again, free trial, do it, check it out. But that's ultimately what's going to create that look. And we'll see that variance across the board with athletes. Taper into the waist. You want to have this. This comes from, dieting is one point, but obviously too, what you're doing abdominally. You do not want to be doing a bunch of crunches, ab work, stuff like this as a bikini competitor. I mean, I know some do it, but it's not really a good idea. A lot of times that's going to thicken out your waist, and we do see that generally. So, a lot of times what you're actually focused on is doing exercises like transverse abdominis drills, things like this, breathing exercises, even to pull the waist in versus, you know, adding size to it, in other words, which is what you'd be doing if you're hypertrophying, you know, rectus abdominis, obliques, things like that, your ab muscles, in other words. Lower body wise, overall upper glute is full, you know, good glute structure here overall, and the hamstrings and the quads do match in good symmetry. So she is definitely well muscled, and also very, very symmetrical, right? And she does hit the conditioning points, which really we talk about some lines here in the midsection, some on the shoulder up top, a little bit of that glute quad separation, a little bit of hamstring quad separation. Very on par with the criteria of Bikini. You'll also note, while she does have a lot of muscle, she also showcases the most shape out of anyone in the top 3 here, because as we move out the call out, we look at Ash, you know, she's got a lot of muscle in the shoulders here, probably a little bit too much for this division. Tapers into the lower, the waist here, which is all good. That all is there. A lot of muscle going on in the lower body though. That kind of throws off the look a little bit here. And, you know, posing tweaks and things that I would suggest changing anyway. But again, you know, she's taken second in this class. Just to give you further insight though, not winning this class, probably because of, you know, a little bit over in the muscle in general, but also specifically the lower body does look a tad bit dominant here, right? And we do see some deeper lines in the quads and the hamstrings and the glutes. Could be an indicator too lean. We'll see when we get to the back here how things really look, but overall, a bit more muscular, a bit more, you know, of that look. Again, kind of moving down in the ranks of Bikini. Keep in mind, first and second often very close, but just for the sake of conversation, where criteria is heading 2025, it does continue to seem that we are kind of pulling the things back, pulling away from the bigger muscles, pulling away from the harder conditionings, even internationally when these events do look a little bit bigger and leaner in general. And looking over here at Joe, so overall good shoulder shape, tapers in the waist really well, very narrow here. Lower body seems to be in good symmetry and balance. She is a tad leaner though. Again, so the second and the third are leaner than the first, and they also have a bit more muscle. All right, so again, pretty key indicators, but as I always say, full story isn't told till we get here. So we're in the back pose now. Marlette in the middle, Ash over here in second, and then Joe over here in third, and very clear differences when we get here. So Marlette definitely has that shoulder shape from the back, which is about what you should see, just a little bit of that roundness and that fullness in this division, tapers into the waist well, everything is all here, ties well together, and then lower body wise, upper glute, you want to have that in Bikini, judges will look for that. You're also going to look for slight separation here between the glutes and the hamstrings, and then basically your quads and your hamstrings need to match in symmetry to the rest of the muscles. So basically glutes can't look overpowering, quads can't look overpowering, shoulders can't, you know, everything wants to be symmetrical. That's really Bikini Division. And we do see that pretty clear here on her physique. As we move out, Ash, granted, I could not get a picture of her exact in her back pose, but we can kind of get the story here. The upper body definitely looks pretty dominant, pretty big, and so does the quads and the hamstrings compared to the glutes. So glutes may be a little bit under compared symmetry wise, but definitely a lot more muscle on her physique overall. Doesn't win that class, doesn't really even look that close to the first place competitor here compared to those variables. So again, key things to note, where Bikini continues to go, leaner, bigger athletes are not winning these classes even in the NPC level. So we're going to start seeing that for sure at the pros. We already have seen it at some big events, and we will see more of it, I think, as we go. Let's look over here at Joe. Shoulder shape, all good, tapers in well. Lower body wise, everything is here, but again, tad leaner. We start to see a little bit more feathering into the quads, things like that. Could be an indicator too lean. She's taking third here. I think also there's a little bit of asymmetry going on here between the hamstrings and the glutes, where we're not getting like a clear tie-in. So could be an indicator, again, just too lean, not full enough, needs a little bit more fullness, and thus could place higher in that class. Let's move though now into our fourth and our fifth, because that's where we get a little bit of a better insight. If you're watching, you're like, okay, I have a hard time seeing those differences. You start to see it a little bit more here, you know, as we get into fourth and fifth. So fourth is Heidi here, and then we have Jasmine over here in fifth. And we'll leave, obviously, Marlette right in the middle, our class winner. So as we go out, this call out, a lot of the same things. Bikini's always going to look like bikini. You could say every athlete still has an hourglass. Yes, you could, but where are the differences? Well, Heidi, lower body is definitely dominant compared to her upper, right? She's got a lot of glute shape and a lot of hamstring shape and a lot of quad size here compared to upper body that's not really there. So this is one of those things where you'd either have to bring up the shoulders a bit, but probably the wrong move, and actually just bring down the lower body instead to create a little bit more symmetry and shape. Because if you had too much, upper body wise to chase a lower body dominance, then you run the risk of just being overall too dominant. So that's another factor. But overall, she hits the conditioning points pretty well. Overall looks good, just maybe a little bit dominant in the lower body, especially in the quads. Looking over here at Jasmine. So for her, it's a shoulder shape, all tapers in to the waist, good, lower body, glutes, quads, hamstrings here. To me, it looks like, not maybe enough muscle in this class for this class in general, right? This is a pretty muscular class. We've seen that across the board. We've seen a little bit of symmetry differences and things like that. But, looking compared to Marlette here in the middle, she's got a lot of muscle compared to over here, Jasmine in fifth. So a little bit more fullness to the shoulders, more to the glutes, more to the quads, more to the hamstrings. Her conditioning seems to be on point, but hitting those markers would probably advance her in placings just a bit there. Now we look from the back, and what we can see, a lot of those similarities. Definitely a lower body dominance factor here for Heidi. That's clear. You can see that quad sweep from the back also kind of overpowers her glutes from the back. So we're not getting as much of that upper glute effect and not overall glute effect, not as much as the tie in here. So rebalancing that symmetry in the lower body is probably key. And looking over here at Jasmine, pretty clear to see not as much muscle going on in general, right? We can almost see the upper glute even appears to be a bit flattened. That's an indicator need more upper glute, one of those zones judges look for, and probably needs overall more muscle just in the lower body and upper at that point. So again, this is how Bikini is shaken out NPC worldwide level. It is continuing to really focus a lot on the shape, a lot on that proportion and a lot on that symmetry, where the mass muscle looks, the bigger athletes that were seemed like they were coming up for a bit and now are falling back, and judges are kind of diverting back to criteria in a lot of ways. So really great time for all you bikini competitors out there that looked at criteria last year or the year before and you're like, it's getting too much, I don't want that muscle, I don't want this and that. Well, it's a great time to go compete, because this is, Fit Model came out, kind of brought the criteria down with it in some ways, and I think that that's a great thing. It's exactly what we should be seeing, especially in Bikini Division. I want to know what you think. Do you like the more muscle look, or do you like the, the leaner looks, or do you like what we're seeing on stage today? That shape, that size, it's on par, and then, conditioning to match, but not overdoing it any which direction. I want to know. Drop them in the comments. Thank you for watching. Coach Ryan is out.